We deserved a second applause because we were doing so good. Well, hola, friends.
Welcome to week 2 of the Man Cave here at Home Church. Um, this week, I think we're going to talk about the Cardinal spring training that's been going on.
Let's go baseball.
Maybe recap some of the Super Bowl a little bit yet again, just because I think last time we just touched on it just a smidge. Maybe some stuff that's going on here in town, and maybe talk about a little bit of Corinne having been on the podcast this week.
Yeah,
So-
we will be. We will not have a podcast next week. Zach and myself, along with his lovely wife, Kaylin and Jacob Woody, we will be in Aurora at the Happening. It is an event for youth. Zach, your wife, I'm sure knows a lot more about it than I. Referring to you, probably know about it more than me. Would you like to explain a little bit about what the Happening is and why we will be absent?
Happening is a youth retreat for teenagers, I believe, from freshmen to seniors, if I'm remembering correctly. But they come together a couple times a year for a weekend, and they will travel to different churches around our area, so basically just in the Ozarks, and get together and learn about Christ and build relationships and have good food, good times, play games. There's a dance on Saturday night and all that fun stuff. But it's just a really fun time to go and learn about Christ. So if I can't remember his last name, but if you want to get more information, reach out to Caitlin, my wife, and she'll get you connected to Mark, who is in charge of it. I should have reached out to him and got all the information before we started talking about this.
Oh well, he sent me an email. Give me just a moment. It was the to-do list. It's down there somewhere. Anyways, it's for those of you, it's kind of like base camp for kids if you're a man, and it's kind of like a flourish retreat if you are a woman listening. So, just something fun for the youth, and
It's it's I believe $50 for one person and 75 for two people, and 100 for three if you have family members or the same household going. If not, I believe it's $50 per person, and that'll cover the food and everything else that they have going on.
okie dokie. To transition into a little bit of sports, a little bit of not sports, we did have a Chiefs fanatic on the regular podcast today. It will be the third podcast. Last week we had Justin Barton on there, JB. This week we had Corinne, and I can't say her last name, so I'm not going to butcher it. And that was a good time. She is a big Chiefs fan, so it was fun to have her on and give her testimony.
It was definitely a good time. Again, sorry for messing that up. I forgot to hit record, so hopefully we can find a way to get that first 20 to 30 minutes figured out and be able to let you guys listen to all of it. If not, there was a solid, 40, 50 minutes worth that we got recorded, so she recapped a little bit and all that fun stuff, so hopefully we can figure it out. But it was definitely a good time, and we were more than happy to have her on. So.
I was very excited to see. It was heartbreaking in the same sense. This is the first spring training in which the pitchers and all the catchers reunite down in Florida on the St. Louis Cardinals, and for the first time in a many years, the Yadier Molina, the king behind the plate, was not there.
Yeah, that I'm not gonna lie, that hurt a little bit.
And to add salt to the wound, we went ahead and put an ex-Cub behind the plate who was a heated rival. And, it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch behind the plate now.
It is. And for those of you that don't know, there is a game for spring training. The Cardinals are playing the Nationals today at 12:05. So that'll be on very very soon, and or no, it's on now. Sorry, it's 12:13 right now. So it's going on right now, and then they have one tomorrow at 12:10.
I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to do about the Cardinals, what station they're going to play them on, because I've seen something the other day, Bally Sports. They were like the new Fox Sports Midwest, came in and they were a gambling company, but they bought the rights to all the TV showings for all of these different teams in MLB. And last year they thought they were just going to absolutely flourish. And I guess COVID was nice to them because people couldn't go to the games. Well, you could bet through Bally Sports.
Right.
Well, after a couple of years of COVID, and now Bally Sports is I've seen where they were in a lot of debt. So the Cardinals may drop them. If they do, they're not sure who's going to pick them up. Which somebody will pick them. I mean,
Oh yeah, somebody will pick them up.
but I'm curious to see, and I hope that it's not Bally Sports because I haven't been able to watch a Cardinal game since Bally Sports took over. So
Yeah, I think you have to have DirecTV or Dish or something like that.
we had before we moved to the house, we had MediaCom at the apartments, and I could watch it through MediaCom. But since we moved out, I haven't been able to watch a game since. So
Yeah, last season I was able to get my uncle's Valley Sports subscription and was able to catch a few games, luckily. So
and the thing that's frustrating is that they've got the MLB Network, but I've purchased the MLB Network and the games were blacked out because Bally Sports owned the rights to them. So
Right.
I was paying, I think I paid $100 for the full year, and I never got to watch
a single game.
a single game.
Yeah. The team
But
that
it
you
was
cared
fun
about,
because I got to watch a bunch of other teams. But still, it's not worth $100 to watch other teams whenever I could just watch another team on regular TV.
yeah, when your fandom's somebody that you can't watch, it hurts a little bit. So yeah, I definitely get that. Um, so like we said, spring training kicked off today, game wise. Good old Wayno started pitching today.
They put Wayno on the hump.
They put Wayno on the hump. I don't know how he's doing today, but he looked in training. He was looking pretty strong still. So still throwing those 98 fastballs and all that fun stuff. So
I am excited to see. I seen where they were going to try Tyler O'Neill out in center. They're going to try to make a push ever since they got rid of Harrison Bader, which they probably shouldn't have done. But you know how we work; we like to do things that you probably shouldn't do. So
we definitely like to mix it up a little bit more.
Oh yeah, let them get good whenever they're young, and then
Yep.
ship them out. So
The Cardinals are a lot like Michael McNair. We like to do a lot of trades, and it is definitely stressful at times, but it is always fun to watch. But
and although we are talking spring, well, we're not probably going to spend a whole massive amount of time on spring training. We'll cut back to them Chiefs for just a little bit. I seen the parade and all of that shenanigans go down. I seen a video of our man Mahomes while chugging a Coors Light, head tilted in the air. A fan throws a football on the bus and he side eyes it, catches it, palms it with one hand while still drinking a beer, and then launches it 50 yards with his head up, drinking a beer, doesn't move his body forward.
That's
We
impressive.
found our quarterback.
Yeah, that's definitely impressive. I don't know if that's necessarily a good example for kids while chugging a beer, but super impressive that he can catch a ball with one hand and then chuck it another 50 yards,
I like how they were showing
all while just paying halfway attention to it. So
that video before the Cincinnati game whenever Joe Burrow was doing his warm-ups and he like twirls around and throws it and he's not looking and walks off and it's like a perfect catch. They played that everywhere, and I've only seen one video of Patrick Mahomes drinking a beer and throwing it 50 yards. It's upsetting.
probably because he's got a good PR rep telling him to calm down and make sure he doesn't get into trouble or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if we looked hard enough, we could probably find a couple more videos of him doing something crazy and stuff like that. I mean, just look at his Texas Tech days, just balling out. I'm sure he's done some crazy stuff down there.
This is cutting way off from that, but my heart was further saddened last Sunday. Went home, my aunt and uncle came over, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to turn the TV on. Tiger Woods is supposed to be making his comeback. Blah 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 blah. And watch Tiger Woods play, and it's heartbreaking because it's not the same Tiger Woods. The man can still putt. The man can still putt. I will give him that, but he just hobbles around and limps, and he bent down to pick up a ball, and I didn't think he was going to be able to get back up, and it's kind of like seeing your hero fall apart, man.
I've never been a huge golf guy myself. It's a lot more fun to play than it is to watch to me. But yeah, Tiger Wood is definitely one of those staple. Uh, what do you want to say? Uh, MVPs that is going to be sad for a lot of people when he finally retires. Kind of like Tom Brady was. I mean, you either love Tom Brady or you hate Tom Brady. I feel like uh, Tiger Woods is the same way. Either you love him or you hate him. But
Well,
either way, he's had a heck of a career, and you can't doubt that he's definitely going to go into the Golf Hall of Fame if there is one of those, isn't there?
oh yeah. The funny thing is, though, if you look at it, talking about people that you either hated or you loved. I mean, you look at Kobe Bryant; he was definitely one of them. And the similarities is, it seems like these guys are jerks. Like, you know, Tiger, whenever he was young, partying and stuff like that. Kobe, you're like, man, he's not very nice, and kind of looks like what you have to do to win. I mean, as soon as Tiger started getting nice, he can't play golf anymore. He should just. I mean, I know it's not right to say on a church podcast, but he was better when he was hateful. So
I mean, maybe that's the case. I don't know,
hateful to people. No, it's not. Don't be hateful to people.
but yeah, I, I I would continue talking about golf and stuff like that with you, but I don't know a whole lot more other than
The next question that
the
I
bare
had
minimum.
that was going to trail back to is how much Super Bowl gear have you purchased?
Ooh,
I see the shirt right now.
I have a two shirts and a pennant now.
What pennant?
It's one of the red and yellow ones, of course, but it says the Chiefs champions real huge and has the Super Bowl 57 logo.
Did you hold a ceremonial hoist of the
Not
pennant
yet.
whenever you?
Not yet.
Oh, so you're going to have one?
I'm thinking about it.
Is it going to happen the same night as the trophy, the football trophy, finally getting its rightful spot?
The Lombardi, yeah.
The fantasy trophy?
Oh, well, I mean, the fantasy trophy is already at Michael's house, but
I'm just saying, like, are you going to,
oh
whenever
yeah,
you
maybe.
win it next year, are you
Yeah.
going to raise the banner at the
Yep.
beginning of football season?
Yep, probably should. It'd be funny. Caitlin won our family league, so she's back-to-back champions this year. So it's sitting on our fireplace mantle in our living room. But halfway through the off season, she gets tired of looking at it, so it goes back into the man cave. So once it goes into the man cave, I'll probably hoist the pennant.
Do you have a separate plate that you take her name off of it whenever she leaves, and you put your name
No,
on the
not
trophy?
on that one. It's just a shorter version of the Lombardi Trophy that we don't put
Oh,
anything on. But unlike the base camp one where the winner gets a little plaque that we put on. But nope, that one's just a little Lombardi Trophy that we pass around. So she, ever since we got the Lombardi Trophy, she's won. So it's stayed in our house. It's just either gone from the man cave to the fireplace mantle and then back to the man cave. So
what? So, how many people are in the family?
right now we have 8, but next year we'll probably drop it back down to 6. So we just need an even number for it to work out. But unfortunately, we filled up on the fantasy or the base camp league, and we had one of our friends, Dylan, come and say that he wanted to play, and then he, I don't know if he's still interested or not, because unfortunately he doesn't. They haven't been coming to church with us lately, but may cut him from the family one and add him either to base camp or see if he even wants to play next year. So we'll cross that bridge when it gets to it, but we'll probably cut him from the family one and either put him on base camp or just cut him all together. I don't know, but
I is it so? Is there a minimum?
bare minimum to play the fantasy for the app that we have, I believe, is 4. that you have to have. And then we have in the family league we have Jacob, Kalen, me, Caitlin, Brett, Leonard, uh, Chris Plum or not, sorry, not Plumley, Chris Presley, who is currently overseas serving, and then Leonard and Dylan.
How is Chris? Have you talked?
I haven't talked to him lately, so last time I talked to him was around Christmas time, and he was doing pretty good. From what Brittany says, he's doing really good and is now one of the worship leaders over there.
Oh, that's cool.
So every Sunday he's leading the worship team and all that fun stuff. So that's really cool over there. It's really cool to see how God's moving, through the lives of all of our soldiers and stuff like that, and giving him the opportunity to, no matter where he is or where he's serving, that he's always using his gifts and talents for the Lord is really inspiring to see.
And everything that he does. I mean, if he's not in a uniform overseas, he's in one over here. I mean,
oh yeah, with the helping Brittany raise their 2 kids or serving here at church. I mean,
volunteer firefighter.
yeah, the dude just doesn't know how to stop. So it's really impressive and inspiring and almost awe. You're almost in awe watching him just move around. He serves on a few teams here, and you would never even know. He doesn't do it for the what do you want to call it, the praise or anything like that. It's just he does it because there's a need for it, and that's how he wants to serve God. So it's I mean I keep saying it, it's just really really inspiring. So
Yeah, and I think the first time that I met Chris was at obviously here at church, but outside of just good morning, how are you, was the young adults, how we eat out afterwards. Uh, we go here, we go there, just depending on where it was. And he's just, Chris's presence is one where it's weird because I've never been around somebody that know. I don't know. He's got this intimidation, but a peaceful intimidation about him, I guess is what you would say. Like, he's very friendly, but at the same time, you're like, you probably don't want to.
You don't want to mess with the dude.
Yeah,
yeah. He's that's how he kind of lives his life. He's a beast, but a sleeping beast. You don't want to wake up the sleeping giant. And when it comes to his family or his church family, he doesn't play around. So it's really really cool to just to know him, and it's an honor to be one of his friends. So it's amazing to have gotten to know him over the past 4 years. Getting to know him through my wife, and my wife and his wife have been best friends since I believe elementary or middle school. So they've been friends for a fat minute, but it's definitely been an honor and privilege to get to know him over the past couple of years.
and his Georgia Bulldogs.
Ooh, yep. They won the championship this year, didn't they? Yeah.
Yep.
So I know he's loving that. So
Unfortunately, the Falcons not so well, but
that's a whole nother discussion. But,
shout out to Chris. Love you, buddy.
so, Bud, if you're listening, stay safe. We love you, and we will see you here pretty soon. I believe in a couple weeks. So,
Amen. Why in the world, and this may just be something that frustrates me. So I've been going to Central Bulldogs High School. A gentleman that I work with, he's the freshman coach, and it's fun to just go watch these freshmen. They're just kind of bumping around on the court. But one thing that just infuriates me are these parents at these games. And I realize, sports are fun and all of this, but after going to last night's game, I don't know if I want Willow playing school sports or not. It's kind of like, honey, can we, knit at home where people won't yell at you? Or
I mean, I feel like that's just kind of part of sports. I mean,
But
granted,
hateful.
there's a fine line becoming, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Supportive and kind of like coaching them up, and then just being straight hateful and
I
yelling
heard
at the
curse
kid.
words. I heard like legitimate curse words being yelled at kids, and it's just like, man, they're kids. Like, is this where?
That's to me, that's taking the sport a little too seriously. I mean, they're high school students. I mean, calm down, dude. It's not like they're playing in the NFL or NBA or MLB. Granted, you know I don't think you should be taking even professional sports super serious unless you're playing. I mean, then of course that's your career and you got to do what's best for you and your family. But I mean, just sitting here as a fan, I mean, in my opinion, that shouldn't be your whole persona unless I mean that's your job. But again, that your job shouldn't be your whole, who you are anyway. So
And like, it's kind of funny whenever you look at the whole outline of sports and everything. It's fun to watch, and it really, I mean, there is like a dance, a cadence that if you like, if a team is truly good, there's like a cadence, a flow they've got to them, and it's fun to watch. But at the same time, it's like so much anger and stuff. Do you like? Is that? Do you get angry at sports? Like, if obviously, if your team's in the Super Bowl, yeah, that's a
right.
different. I'm just saying, like, if it's game one of the regular season, Chiefs are going up against
I mean,
the
preseason.
Texans.
Yeah, no, I mean, if it's preseason or like all the way up, I want to say up to like week 8 during the normal season, I'm not gonna get too upset about it. Normally when mid-season to like you know postseason or not postseason, but playoffs and stuff like that, that's when it's crunch time and you need to take stuff a little bit more serious, especially if you're wanting to get to the show or the World Series or Super Bowl or uh, oh, anything important like that. The majors
Stanley
or
Cup,
yeah,
the
Stanley Cup. Yeah, thank you. I couldn't
World
think of
Cup.
yeah. So if you're wanting to make playoffs and stuff like that, then yeah, I mean you need to be taking it a little seriously. Not getting, I don't think getting angry or anything like that is going to be beneficial. Granted, I think there's always room for improvement, and yes, stuff can be taken seriously, and you need to uh, have time for that as well. But I mean, it's a game in all reality, and whether you're playing it professionally or you're in middle school in a gym throwing a dodgeball around, I mean, it's a game. You should be having fun. So the people that are doing it professionally just got lucky enough to be playing the game that they love and be getting paid really, really, really well for it. So
Now, there's also, I mean, I myself am in no shape. There's no sport right now that I would recommend you take me and set me and say this individual right here is going to conquer at the sport. So there is drive. There is, I mean, these guys have crazy, crazy, crazy work ethics. I mean, in the gym. So I mean, it, it's just sad to see. That's what kids, like that's the treatment that they get in high
right,
school. And
yeah,
you, like, it was it was a varsity game against Joplin, and there were, I don't know, maybe 150 people. There
right.
wasn't hardly anybody, and I was just like, man, are you somebody? I whenever it comes to sports, me myself, I'm not very. I just don't have that dog in me. I guess I just enjoy the company and stuff. I can put on a pair of basketball shoes and go shoot hoops and stuff. And if I lose, I'm not gonna not talk to people for
Right.
3 hours.
Yeah.
I'm just not that way. I will say though, a gentleman that who it doesn't matter what you're gonna do, they'll turn it into a competition. Is Clayton, Foursquare. Ask Clayton to play a game of Foursquare and see if you don't walk away looking at him a little different than what you did before.
I I mean, I can see that. My wife is kind of like that too. I mean, chew you out for beating her or anything like that. But she's very, very competitive, and it's makes some stuff a lot of fun, and other stuff like okay, you need to mellow out just a little bit. But I mean, she's not going over the top or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, there's there's definitely a time and a place to be competitive and super serious. But there's another time and place to be like, dude, this is just a game. Don't worry about it. But I'm like you. I can go out there and put on a pair of shorts and basketball shoes and shoot some hoops. But y'all gonna make me look like trash regardless.
Well,
So
here's the scary part about myself, though, is like last night I was looking on the court and they were five freshmen playing basketball, and whenever they were announcing them, they were like 5'2". There was a part of me that was like, I wonder how many of them I could run through to the hoop, like just once, you know.
right.
I know I'm not gonna make it, but I wonder how many of them. And then I'm like, no, you, no, you don't stand a chance. Like, was there ever any like for me? There was never a question of pro. Like I never even thought about. Did you ever like in high school? Were you like I wouldn't mind doing that? Like there was a part of me that I really wanted. I never had that. Like I enjoyed playing golf in high school. I played
Right.
golf for Ozark, but I knew I wasn't PJ Tour material. I just wanted to play golf in high
Right.
school. Was there ever a part of you that you were like, I think
There was a part of me to keep hitting my elbow. There was definitely a part of me to where I was like, I want to go pro, but I definitely was not dedicated enough, and I think that was my problem. Not that I couldn't uh, go pro, but I definitely think I started too late. I was in middle school when I first really got huge into football, and I mean at that point, everybody, well, I say everybody, the people that are planning on going pro have already been playing for years because most of the time it's your parents have gotten you in several sports, and by middle school you found the one that you love and want to play, and at that point you're dedicated enough to you know grind your grind and you know uh, hone your craft a little bit and be like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I need to get done to get to the pro level. I was at that point super far behind, just figuring out what football was, and had a lot of anger issues back in middle school, and thought it was really fun to go out there, run full speed, and just light somebody up. So I mean, and then transferring to high school, moving on up, I didn't put in the time like I should setting plays or anything like that. So I thought it would be really cool to go pro. Definitely did not have the dedication or what do you want to call it?
drive?
Yeah, drive. Thank you to put that into fruition. So it would have been really really cool, but you know I'm totally fine being a fan, and
Yeah.
uh, not hurting and stuff like that every day is a plus. So
One thing that I do want to do, and the I know last year we did the night at Hammond's Field,
hmm
but on the subject of baseball, it has been forever since I have gone to watch St. Louis play.
right,
I would love to get a group of. It would have to be before Willow was born, so it would have to be May. I mean, April would be cheap tickets.
I would
Probably
imagine. Yeah,
cheap
yeah,
tickets.
yeah.
So like an April or May trip right before. Just get, and it doesn't even have to be just, I mean, family members.
Right.
I do not stay in St. Louis. It's not my thing. So I will be driving back
Back. Yeah.
that night. So if it's ever an issue of not wanting to stay, don't worry. I will be driving, and but I think that would be something cool to do.
Yeah. I don't have a problem staying in St. Louis.
I do.
I definitely prefer staying in Kansas City, or at least the hotel that we stayed in while we were staying in St. Louis was a little sketchy. To me, not that I hate St. Louis or anything like that. I say half my life, about a third of my life was going back and forth between St. Louis and Ava, which is where I grew up. But My dad used to live up in St. Louis for a while, and then I would go up there every other weekend. But I love St. Louis. Love uh, the atmosphere up in St. Louis. Can't go wrong, with a bunch of Cardinals fans and stuff like that. They definitely know how to party when they win the World Series or the Stanley Cup. Can't go wrong with the Blues. Um, may fight Brett on that one, but Blues fan through and through. Uh, yeah. So, but I feel like as Brett messages me, um, anyway, I feel like St. Louis as a city doesn't quite take care of their roads as well as Kansas City does, and uh, yeah. So overall, as a city, love St. Louis, love the atmosphere. A lot of great people I know live up there in St. Louis, but overall, I just feel like Kansas City is just a nicer, cleaner city.
Oh yeah, downtown Kansas City's. I love downtown.
Yeah, downtown Kansas City is
Or is it
beautiful.
Union Station? Is that it's
Yeah,
Union
yeah,
Station?
Union
Is that
Station.
downtown? What is, or is that just Union Station?
Not 100%. That could be.
So you are a blues fan.
I am. I am.
So what is it? I remember my favorite thing whenever I graduated my senior year. My best friend, his mom and dad took us up to see a St. Louis Cardinal game, and we went and seen Modest Mouse. But we went to, it was a mall, and the mall was where the St. Louis Blues used to practice.
Right.
What was that? What's the name of that mall?
Oh, I can't think of it now, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So,
It's been a fat minute since I used to practice there. I want to say like the early or late '90s, early 2000s is when they
yeah,
switched over.
we graduated in 2009, and they had, I think it was like 3 years prior to that. I think they said they moved them out.
Right.
But so the St. Louis Blues, it's funny because there for a while you had the St. Louis Rams and you had Kurt Warner
Right.
win the Super Bowl, and then bam, they go down hard. You had the whole Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire home run race. So you had St. Louis kind of there. You had St. Louis winning the World Series in '06, 2011, and then St. Louis kind of goes dead for a minute, and
Yep.
it's just kind of quiet. And Cardinals are in the middle of a rebuild. Rams get kicked out. They don't, they're not
Move back
wanting
to
anything. Go
yeah.
back to LA. Then all of a sudden, the St. Louis Blues out of nowhere, it just seemed like year after year, boom, boom, boom. So
Right.
I am, I enjoy hockey, but I haven't been around it as much. I went to a couple Spirit games whenever the Spirit was here.
Right.
What is it? Is ice hockey more or less? I know it's not football on ice with a puck, but as far as like the damage that their body takes, is football the closest thing? Because obviously it's not baseball. I
Right.
mean,
I would say that to me, if I'm going to describe somebody or to somebody what hockey is without them ever seeing a game or knowing anything about hockey, hockey is if you take football and soccer and mix them together. It looks a lot like that, just with a very, very small, puck
and
that
deadly
moves
skis
way faster.
and blades on your
Yeah.
feet
Yep.
and a weapon in your hand and
Yeah, it's basically football with sticks and blades on your feet. So I mean, and it's set up kind of like soccer. You got a goal versus an end zone. But
so now I remember like the only thing that is a constant is obviously you're trying to get, well, I shouldn't say the only thing that's constant, but the constant is trying to get the puck in the opposing goal for your point. What are do you I don't know, cuz like I know in soccer you've got your, your guard, you're this and this, like basketball you
right,
got your point guard, your center, your forward, small forward, blah blah blah. What are
the,
players
ooh,
terminology in hockey?
that I'm not entirely sure of.
Okay.
I'm not a huge
Yeah, yeah,
hockey
yeah.
fan. Unfortunately, that's kind of fallen down to the wayside as I've grown up. It's always been more baseball and football than hockey. I've just grown up liking the Blues and stuff like that because my dad has uh, lived in St. Louis for most of his adult life now. and then moved to Tennessee, of course. But yeah, just growing up, being trying to bond with my dad over sports, it was always Blues when it came to hockey. So I could probably be easily persuaded out of liking the Blues if we started getting into hockey and understanding the rules and stuff like that. But as of right now, it's just very that's how uh, I grew up. So that's my ties to hockey is the Blues. So and my cousin is a huge Blues fan and may punch me in the face for saying that I may be persuaded from being a Blues fan. But it is what it is. So uh, as far as the positions and the rules and stuff like that, I couldn't tell you.
Man, I was watching. Speaking of positions and rules, Sunday I was watching the Battlehawks, the St. Louis Battlehawks, which I guess you could count that as their football team, XFL now,
Oh, okay,
the
yeah,
one that
yeah.
The Rock owns. Which did you know Heinz Ward is coaching the Brahmas? They're the Hawaiian football team,
Uh-uh.
which is basically the Rocks. Yeah, Heinz Ward's their coach.
That's cool.
Um,
That may be something to look into. Is
oh,
the new
I
XFL?
love
So
watching. I remember watching because the St. Louis Battlehawks. They're the Battlehawks. That was like right before COVID. Well, it was kind of like a nice little segue from Super Bowl, big guy football to still a little bit of football. Spring training's kicking off, so it's something to be busy. But man, that's fun to watch. The rules though are kind of weird. Like it's freaky. They did the first kickoff and they were running next to each other, and I was like, "What is going on?" Have you watched any of it
I
yet?
have not, but I've heard decent things about it so far. And I thought The Rock was just like owning a team. I didn't realize he completely
Him and
bought.
his
Yeah,
ex wife. She was they had like a little thing before, and that's what I assumed like the Brahmas were the
right,
Rock's team, but it was just a team name after him. But they own the whole shawammy.
right. Yeah, I didn't realize that until my supervisor at work told me that he actually owned the entire thing. I was like, oh, so that would be why it's all over his social media versus him just
Yeah,
owning a team. So I mean, that's really cool that he was able to buy it and restart it because they did uh, go under there for I think for a year or two. So it was cool that he's was able to build it back up and hopefully train up some of these young guys and either make it to the NFL or just start crushing it there. So
yeah, and that's the thing too. Like if they're it's somebody that you see and you're like, oh, that cat
yeah, it might be worth something
might
here in a
be
day or
worth
two.
looking
Yeah,
into
yeah.
him. Yeah.
So
Uh
go ahead. Sorry,
oh
I
oh
didn't mean to cut you off.
oh no, you're fine. So as we consider all of the things that we've seen out of the Kansas City Chiefs before we start ranting and raving on Cardinals looking bad, Cardinals looking good. Out of the Chiefs, although, I mean, I think the defense, especially whenever they came out in the Super Bowl or against the Bengals, that defense just
Looked amazing.
awesome.
Yeah.
They got tuckered out a little fast. The people that are departing and or have contracts that are up and or moves, what would you like to see out of the Chiefs organization? What do you think that the Chiefs need? Because obviously Tyreek Hill gone, everybody's dead, we're going nowhere. Pacheco, all these cats come out of nowhere,
Right. Start coming in
and
clutch. Yeah, yeah.
Andy Reid's over there smiling. But at the same point in time, you've got a Patrick Mahomes with a sprained ankle that's been sprained 7 times, and
Right.
this and this and this. So he's still having to run around, which he's still good at making plays happen. Him and
Right.
Kelsey. So that's not, I don't think, too big of a. I just for this Juju Smith, obviously being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan a little bit before, um, Juju was that cat that to me looked like another Le'Veon Bell, a younger Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. He's got the attitude. We've seen multiple times in the Kansas City Chiefs game where he get penalties for taunting and stuff
Right.
like that, and it did get better. Do you think Juju's a big enough weapon, or do you think he plays his part perfect because he's quiet and they don't expect it,
Right.
and he can kind of come out of nowhere because they're on to Kelsey?
I feel like he would be. I don't know if he's ever nothing against the guy. I don't think he'll be utilized in Kansas City like he wants to be, like he was in Pittsburgh. He's definitely a sleeper on the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, you can't go wrong. You know,
Well, and see, I wonder too, like with Big Ben, he couldn't move. Like Big
right?
Ben was
Yeah, yeah.
stationary, so Big Ben's launching it, and Juju's not used to that scramble, run
Right,
around, making a
right,
play happen. So maybe he's just not used to that. But I would still think. I mean, this is almost. I mean, was it? This was a first full year, but was
right.
he on the
Yeah,
Chiefs a little bit last year,
I want to say yes.
towards the end of the
Yeah,
season? And
towards,
so to me, I don't know. I seen him with a couple of good catches, but he just looked kind of uneasy, and maybe that's part of that
that
Patrick
could be
Mahomes
yeah.
making things happen. Big Ben is exactly that, just Big Ben
Ben,
sitting there,
yeah,
and if he's going to
throwing.
take a hit,
He's going to take a hit.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be that connection's just not there yet. Not saying that Juju's a bad receiver or anything like that, but there has been a few huge plays that he could have made this past season, and he's dropped the ball. So that could be a mental thing that he's got going on, or just not that connection there like uh, Patty and Kelsey have yet. So
And we're going to go ahead and we're going to segue into that way, and I know it may be somewhat awkward, but the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator, some slack going around about all of the NFL teams not hiring him. Um, Talking about they're not really giving exact reasons, but Andy Reid came out and said that he's kind of frustrated with all these teams because he is a good coach.
right,
Um, do you feel that whenever the media gets a hold of these, it's because he's a black coach story? Do you think that they run with that aspect a little too much, or do you think it's because people are going, well, this is Andy Reid's team, and yeah, he's a great offensive coordinator, but eventually it's got to run through Andy, because we
right.
see a lot of these plays that they call, they go, oh, well, this is Andy's secret play. So do you think it's more of these teams looking into the situation? Because I feel like if you've got a cat that's been on your team that's got two Super Bowl series rings, been to three,
Right.
I mean, this is a guy that you're
And
probably.
he's put in the work and knows what he's talking
But
about.
I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
I know Patrick Mahomes is a phenom. I understand Travis Kelsey, but it takes a team. And if you don't have a defense, you've seen what happens. Patrick has to run around like a chicken with his head cut off, and he's got to make these incredible plays. And everybody's like, "Oh, it's so cool!" And yeah, it's nice that he does that. But you would like for him not to have to do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, to me, I find it difficult, but again, I don't see it in that way. I just don't see it being like, oh, he's a black coach, so no, we don't want him. We would just we're preferring this. I just don't know enough about the coaching staff,
Right.
but to me it seems kind of weird. Like, why wouldn't
Yeah.
you?
I don't see why any of the other 31 teams wouldn't give him a shot. And I mean, to me, it shouldn't be about race.
Oh, most
I mean,
definitely no.
no matter your skin color or anything like that, if you're putting in the work and the dedication and the time, I mean, you're eventually going to get your shot. So, I mean, if they don't because of him being a black coach, I mean, that is ridiculous to me. The fact that he has got 2 rings and has been to 3 is outstanding for any coach. But
And the years that he's had under
under
Andy Reid. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
and not only under Andy Reid, but Patrick Mahomes. And I
right,
mean, you say that and you're like, oh, he's a coach. He's not really. But whenever you have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey, when you have a tight end that can move and block
right,
like that, you've got something special in a cat. So, I mean, like, I get it. I heard somebody say that maybe it was, they just think the Chiefs are just something special and it's a coincidence. So I didn't know.
I honestly don't know enough about the coaching staff, but to me, I mean, if he's wanting to look at other opportunities, there's either got to be something going on outside of the organization, or we're just trying to restructure a little bit. But I
or
mean,
everybody's blowing it out of proportion. And
oh
I'm not
yeah,
saying
I
that
mean
he
that could
I'm
be
not
too.
saying that he hasn't went to interview or he doesn't want to interview, but I mean, what if he's just saying I kind of got it nice here, you know? I mean,
Right. Oh yeah, maybe.
I just
I
didn't
mean,
know if that was I hadn't heard.
not. I mean, speaking not as a fan of just the Chiefs or stuff like that, but as a coach from working in the NFL. If I was going to go somewhere, I would want to go for that top tier team, and right now that is the Chiefs. Granted, you're always going to keep, no matter what you're doing, you're going to always keep that door open to where you're like, well, this may work out better for my family, somewhere else, but you got to do what's best for you and your family and stuff like that. I mean, I'll always say that, but to me, I would want to go somewhere where it's a top tier organization. You're working with the best of the best, and at this particular moment, it is the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's hard to believe that somebody else from a different organization doesn't want to talk to him or hire him or something like that. So going back to your original question, I mean I personally think that the media is running with stuff
Oh
and
yeah.
blowing it out of proportion when excuse me, they do that with everything. I mean, look at the news or media coverage of anything. It's you know somebody says something the wrong way and it's get blown up. I mean, there's your story, my story, and the right story. So anything and everything can get blown up out of proportion. So
And I think it's pretty it just speaks about like things like podcasts. Whenever you have guys that come on and they give their opinion, and it's one thing to give your opinion, but then it's another thing to turn around and act like your opinion's the only way.
right,
So, I mean, there is a lot of that stuff that goes on too, but it is kind of I don't know. That was just like a weird. I seen that and I didn't know that his either contract was up or that he was looking around.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, even if my contract wasn't up, like I said, I would always leave that door open.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's just, in my opinion, good personal etiquette and professional etiquette. Not that you want to necessarily leave or anything like that, but if you're telling me that a better offer is going to come in to where I can take care of my family better, even if I'm being treated phenomenally, I'm why not? You know what I mean? Or at least why not have the discussion and get some of the facts in to where you can make a decision with your wife or your kids and stuff like that. So, or if you're lucky, restructure your contract with your current organization to where they match it. I mean, it never hurts to ask for a raise. Worst case they can do is say no or fire you. So, I mean, then you go with the other organization. But you know, it's never a bad idea to have your options open. Whether or not you follow that other option or anything like that, that's completely up to you.
And another thing that I like that I don't like a lot of people. It cracks me up because if the Chiefs win, right? Chiefs win. Nobody's saying nothing. Let's just say Patrick, which didn't happen a whole lot, but Patrick's got one of them games, 4 interceptions, 150 yards, blah 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 blah. But somehow they're keeping it tight. They still win. Nobody talks about the struggle or anything like that they went through because it was a win. You won. You did
Right.
good. It was a win. And it's funny because there have been nights I go to bed early, so there were nights where the Chiefs games would be going later, and if I don't get to bed by 8 o'clock, then it's over. So I would leave when the Chiefs were winning, but I had to leave on a good note, so I wasn't all amped up.
Right.
And I would wake up the next day, and they would be ahead 2 touchdowns when I went to bed, and I'd wake up and it was like 27-28, and I would wake up and it's 58-59. Chiefs won by a field goal.
Right.
And it's funny to just you think about all the aspects that go into it that leads into this question. Would you ever? I couldn't ever imagine. We talk about thankless jobs and stuff on the podcast. Being a professional coach, oh, that would be miserable.
I honestly think unless you're the head coach, like somebody like Andy Reid, you're going without a lot of things, especially in the media or your fan base or anything like that. Of course, we're going to look at your top tier people, all the people that are all your players, Andy Reid. I mean, there's a few of the
Belichick. I
yeah,
mean, and
right,
that's
right,
the
right.
thing. But that's the thing, though. Like Belichick
But
without Brady.
you're right. I mean,
So who was better? I mean, did they have to have that conglomerate, or was it just happenstance? Like,
right,
was it those two together that made the beast? Like Andy Reid hasn't really won a Super Bowl without Patrick
Patrick
Mahomes,
Mahomes, right,
but he's been a great coach.
right.
So where is that line? Where do you
I
say?
I personally think no matter the player, if you don't have a good coach, you're not going to go anywhere. I mean, you can have all the talent in the world, and if you don't have that mentor, you're not going to be able to do anything. I mean, I could be the greatest painter like in the world with Donatello skill, Michelangelo, all that fun stuff, but you're not going to be able to get recognized or anything like that until, unfortunately, either you pass away or you got somebody that's helping you get it out there. So, I mean, in my opinion, it was Belichick who took the chance on Brady, and then Brady put in that work and proved himself to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Granted, they didn't always do the right things or stuff like that, make the right decisions. It's the same thing with any of us. But I mean, if you think about Brady, you're going to think about Belichick. If you think about Belichick, you're going to think about Brady. Same thing with Andy Reid. I mean, now that he's got Mahomes and Kelsey, you're gonna as soon as you say one of their names, you're gonna think of Andy Reid. But going along with the thankless jobs, how many offensive coaches and defensive coaches can you tell me? I mean, they're the ones that are supporting Andy Reid. Granted, he's the one that gets the brunt of everything, but he's got a coaching staff behind it. So there's a bunch of people behind the scenes of anything that's going on out in the world that you have your support system. So
I whenever you bring up conversations about the tagline to my favorite argument in the world, who's better, LeBron or Michael? And people thrive off of that conversation, and then they get mad at each other. And then the funny thing that you realize is A, they don't even play the same positions. B, LeBron James has like 3 or 4 inches on Jordan. They're different eras. So everybody wants to compare this guy and such and such.
right,
And the thing that cracks me up is Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl. Who was his coach? You can't remember
right,
the coach. Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl. Who was his top wide receiver? Can't remember. You know what
no,
I mean?
right,
It's funny that like Tom Brady, whenever Tom Brady, when was Deflategate? Which was that the Colts?
no, that was with the Patriots.
Well, yeah. But was that
you mean
against
who
the
was
Colts? That
against?
was
Yeah,
against
yeah,
the Colts,
yeah,
wasn't
I
it?
believe so. Yes,
Edelman, would Edelman have been?
Edelman and Gronk. Yep,
Edelman and Gronk were there, so obviously Belichick. But like that was a dynasty. Like those
right,
guys
yeah,
stayed pretty constant, and so like the Chiefs, you've got close, not back to back, but very close. So you kind of realize their names, but it's just funny. Like when you look back, uh, the 3 Bs. Whenever the Steelers won the Super Bowl the last time, you had Ben, Antonio Brown, Bell. So like the 3 Bs, that kind of kept them. But it's
right,
just you think about those once in a while Super Bowl winners, and you're like, okay, who was their coach? Who was their top wide receiver? Who
right,
was running back? And you're like, I just remember Aaron Rodgers because that's who they jammed in my brain.
right, yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely hard to remember stuff like that. So, uh, yeah, I couldn't tell you who Aaron Rodgers' coach was. Granted, I've got so many random facts
Yeah,
stuck
yeah,
in about
and I mean it's
yeah,
it not being a Green Bay Packers fan, like
right,
it's
yeah,
not like it's your team that you're following and stuff like that. But I mean, in the same point, you still remember Aaron Rodgers. Aaron
yeah,
Rodgers got that Super Bowl.
right,
Um, the New York Giants. Whenever Eli Manning, whenever they won that Super Bowl, I can't remember the
Ye-
coach, and I couldn't tell you a single receiver on that team.
I
Was
couldn't either.
Odell wasn't on that? No, that was way
No,
before
yeah, I
Odell.
was gonna say I think that was before Odell. Um, but yeah, going back to even just Michael and LeBron, I mean, that's a debate that you could have some with somebody uh,
And the thing
for all
is like
day. But
I never ever would have put Kobe Bryant in my top three, just because I never watched a whole lot of him.
hmm
Uh, but I've been watching a lot of like the Jordan flashbacks and stuff,
right,
and or I guess it's not the flashbacks, but I've been watching The Last Dance, and one of the things that they have in there is like a little side thing is a dedication to Kobe Bryant,
right,
and they were talking about just his game and everything, and this guy asking me was like, so if you're going up against the guy that you've never ever played against, what's the first thing you do? And he goes, the first thing I do is look for a weakness. And he goes, the thing about it is everybody wants to, what is my strength, and then I'm going to use my strength against him. And he goes, I don't want to wear myself out that fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find his weakness, wear him out on his weakness, then as a last resort, I push. And it's just like, that's such an animalistic way of
right. Yeah,
looking at
yeah.
it.
That's someone that's put in the time and dedication and knows his craft. But as far as the Kobe versus or not Kobe, LeBron versus Michael, I mean, they're not even playing the same game
No.
in my opinion. I mean, if you just look at basketball just from Michael's time to LeBron's time, the fact that just the rules have changed and the players have changed, evolved, and the the game itself has changed. Uh, the shoes are different, the shorts are different, the uniforms are different, all that stuff. I mean, they both phenomenal players. Both of them are Hall of Famers in their own right, but they're not, in my opinion, playing the same game. So it's hard to judge somebody from Michael's era to LeBron who's still playing.
Yeah.
If you were gonna, in my opinion, if you're gonna compare somebody, it should be like LeBron versus Curry, or LeBron
LeBron
versus
versus Kevin Durant,
right,
a big that's running the
right,
court up and down and still popping threes,
right,
and
yeah. Or it should be Michael versus Kobe. Somebody that
yeah,
played together a little bit more. Not saying that LeBron didn't go up against Kobe every once in a while or play with him, but in my opinion, Kobe was that middle ground between the two of them. So uh, it's a lot easier for me to compare Kobe and Michael versus LeBron and Michael.
yeah. Well, I don't. I know we said we were going to talk a little bit about spring training, which we did that.
Yep.
Cardinals really, the moves that they make are very frustrating. They're very nonchalant, and they try to get the discount guy that was top dog 10 years ago and
Right.
revamp him, and they
You just
are not that.
you just never know when it's going to happen too. It could be preseason, midseason, postseason. Could be October. Could be January. You just never know when something's going to pop off with Cardinals. We are all about definitely trading as much as we can and trying to.
Keep the money low.
Yeah.
There for a while, they were trying to do the whole foreign. They had the, I can't even remember what they call it now, but they basically have a budget for overseas players, and
Right.
they may not play college and enter your draft here, but you are, I can't even remember exactly how they call it, but they went after that Sewong O. There's been a couple of other like Korean players ever since Shohei Ohtani came in,
Right,
the dual threat pitcher. So they've been trying to dabble into that, and they're just doing an absolute awful job of it. The Cardinals are one of those teams that come out hot for the first 20 games, then they die down for 50, then they get really hot for 20, die down a little bit for 20, then they make a push for the postseason, get a wild card, and get annihilated. It's
Yep.
very heartbreaking.
Yeah. It seems like we've been doing that since 2011. So it's very very depressing at times, and when we're on a hot streak, it's very very fun to watch. But overall, it's been rough, been being a Cardinals fan for the past 12 years. But it's always a good time, and always
At least
being
we
able.
get to see Arenado and Goldschmidt.
Yeah, I
So
can't go wrong
that's
with Goldie, man. He's a beast. So if we ever trade him, I'm gonna be a little upset about that too. But yeah, I mean, just being able to spend time with friends and watch a game that you love and stuff like that, it's always a fun time. And then I know we talked about talking, uh, mentioning that we were going to talk about stuff that's going on here in Springfield this weekend. Um, nice little transition there. Lawn and garden show is going on at the Empire Fairgrounds. So if you're really big into gardening, that's going on this weekend. Uh, Hamilton is showing at the Hammond Hall tomorrow. That was from, I believe they're doing the Disney version that Disney popped out. I believe they're doing that. And then something I'm really, really excited about is the Jurassic Quest. Whether or not I go to that, I don't know yet. But I think a few of the kids here from church are pretty excited about that. It's basically Jurassic Park uh, at the Springfield Expo Center. So you can walk around and, you know, discover a baby dinosaur, and I probably take one home if I remember correctly from the commercial. But basically, it's just a museum that they set up a lot like Jurassic Park, where you walk around and uh, get to learn about dinosaurs. So it's pretty cool.
good deal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting ready to end this podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you listening. We just want you to know that we are a product of Home Church. We have our main podcast, which as of right now, we're thinking we're just going to kind of keep it at what it is. It's the Home Church podcast, Talkin Home Church. This, now that you're listening to, is the Man Cave podcast. But if you are looking for a church and you don't have one, or you're not 100% sure what the times are for the online, we do stream that online. Church service starts at 9, and depending on how worked up Rev is, about 10:30, 10:45 is when that old gal's going to end up wrapping up. Have us a good time here. You are more than welcome to join us online. We much prefer you here in person, so that way we get to smile and see your lovely face. But if you are an online person, 9 o'clock to 10:45 ish. Love you all, and we will see you not next week, but the week after that.